All right, so we're diving deep today into how to prepare for a fire inspector interview. And we've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us out, career guides, sample interview questions, even info on how AI can give you an edge. Our mission, help you not just answer the questions, but totally nail that interview and snag that fire inspector badge.
Yeah, it's interesting being a fire inspector. It's not just about inspections. You kind of have to be a detective, an educator, and even sometimes a diplomat.
Oh, okay, like that. So it's more than just like spotting fire hazards, right?
Exactly right. You're looking at building plans, testing those fire alarm systems, even figuring out what caused a fire. But then you're also out there educating the public about fire safety and working with building owners to make sure everything's up to code.
Wow, so there's actually a lot of interaction with people, so I guess that means strong communication skills are super important. And I bet RoleCatcher's AI can help with that, right?
Absolutely. RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze specific job descriptions and then give you super tailored feedback on your interview answers. It's like having a personal coach helping you craft the perfect response for each question.
That's amazing, especially since they say each job can be a little different even for fire inspectors, right?
Exactly. Some roles focus way more on inspections, while others might be more about public education or plan review. RoleCatcher's AI can really help you target your responses to what each specific employer is looking for.
Okay, let's jump into some of those tricky interview questions. I'm curious to see how this AI can help me craft some awesome answers.
All right, let's start with a classic. The interviewer might ask, "What motivated you to become a fire inspector?"
Ooh, that one seems pretty straightforward. But I can see how it can be kind of tricky. What are they really trying to find out with that question?
I think they're looking for genuine passion and commitment. Do you see this as a calling, not just a 9 to 5? It's more than checking smoke detectors. It's about protecting lives and property. So think about what initially sparked your interest in this field. Was it a personal experience, maybe a desire to serve your community, or even just a fascination with how buildings work and how to keep them safe? Let that genuine enthusiasm shine through in your answer.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I'm interested in safety, I could talk about how volunteering with the local fire department as a teenager really opened my eyes to the importance of fire prevention.
Exactly. That personal touch makes your answer way more memorable. And be ready for follow-up questions too, like what aspects of the job are you most excited about? Or how do you see yourself making a difference in this role?
That makes sense. Okay, so what about experience? What if they ask, what experience do you have in fire prevention and suppression?
This is where you get to showcase all your knowledge and skills. Highlight your relevant work experience, certifications, training programs, or any volunteer work you've done. Don't just list them, though. Connect them to the specific requirements of the job.
Okay, this is where RoleCatcher's AI could really come in handy, I think. By analyzing the job description, it could like highlight which skills to really emphasize, right?
Precisely. Let's say the job description really emphasizes knowledge of NFPA standards. You could say something like, "In my previous role as a fire safety consultant, I was responsible for ensuring buildings met NFPA 101, the Life Safety Code. This involved conducting thorough inspections, reviewing building plans, and working with clients to address any deficiencies."
Oh, well, that's a much stronger answer than just saying, I know NFPA standards, so what's next?
All right, think about this one.
Yeah.
How do you stay up to date with the latest fire safety regulations and building codes?
Oh, yeah. Keeping up with changes is so important in any field, especially one where lives are at stake.
Absolutely. You want to showcase your commitment to continuous learning here. Mention any professional organizations you're a part of, conferences or workshops you've attended, or even just industry publications you read. RoleCatcher's career guides can actually point you to some really valuable resources here.
So I could mention that I'm a member of the National Fire Protection Association, and I regularly attend their seminars to stay informed about the latest code updates. And I could even like name drop a specific publication like NFPA Journal.
Exactly. It shows you're proactive and dedicated to your professional development. Okay, now let's imagine they ask you, can you describe your approach to conducting a fire inspection? This is your chance to really walk them through your process.
All right, so I could describe how I'd prepare beforehand by like reviewing building plans and familiarizing myself with any specific hazards associated with the occupancy type. Then I could talk about how I'd conduct a systematic inspection using checklists and tools like a thermal imaging camera to identify potential issues. And finally, I'd explain how I document my findings and communicate them to the building owner or manager.
Excellent. You're showing them that you're methodical, thorough, and organized. And by mentioning specific tools, you're really showcasing your technical knowledge. But what happens when things get a little tense? How would you answer this? How do you handle difficult or non-compliant building owners or managers during an inspection?
Oh, here's where it gets interesting. I know from reading the RoleCatcher guide that fire inspectors often act as mediators, which makes sense,
Yeah.
but it also sounds kind of tricky. I can't just write someone a citation and call it a day, right? I need to be able to explain the regulations and actually work with them to find solutions.
You hit the nail on the head. This question is all about conflict resolution and your ability to stay professional even under pressure. So share an example from your past where you successfully navigated a challenging situation. Maybe you encountered a building owner who was really resistant to making necessary repairs. How did you approach the situation? How did you communicate the importance of compliance while also maintaining a positive working relationship?
That's a great point. I need to show them that I can be firm, but fair, and that I can educate people without being condescending. I remember this one time when,
It sounds like you've got some good stories to work with. Now let's shift gears a bit. How would you answer this question? How do you prioritize and manage your workload as a fire inspector?
well, I know from the RoleCatcher Career Guide that fire inspectors often handle like a ton of tasks at once. Inspections, investigations, reports, public education. It's a lot to juggle.
You're right. So the interviewer really wants to see that you're organized, efficient, and able to handle those competing priorities effectively. Do you use any specific strategies or tools for managing your time and workload?
Well, I'm a huge fan of to-do lists and those task management apps, but I also think it's super important to be flexible, and adapt to unexpected situations. Like emergencies happen, and you need to be able to adjust your schedule and reprioritize tasks as needed.
Excellent point. Highlighting your flexibility and adaptability is key in this role. Okay, now let's delve into a question that requires some deeper thought. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision during a fire inspection?
Ooh, this one sounds tough. Imagine they're trying to assess my judgment, my problem-solving skills, and my ability to make tough calls under pressure.
Exactly. Think of a situation where you had to weigh different factors, consider potential risks, and ultimately make a decision that wasn't easy but was the right one. Walk the interviewer through your thought process. Explain how you arrived at your decision and what factors you took into consideration.
Yeah, I can see how that would demonstrate my critical thinking skills and ability to make sound judgments, even when things get tricky. Okay, how about this one? How do you work with other agencies and departments like law enforcement or building departments to ensure compliance with fire safety regulations?
This is all about collaboration, which is so essential in this role. You'll constantly be interacting with various agencies and departments, so they want to know you're a team player and can build those positive working relationships.
Okay, so I should talk about my communication and interpersonal skills, my ability to work effectively with others, and any experience I have collaborating on projects or investigations.
Precisely. And a specific example would really drive that point home. Perhaps you worked with the building department to address a recurring fire code violation in a multi-unit residential building. How did you coordinate your efforts, communicate effectively, and ultimately achieve a positive outcome for everyone involved?
I'm starting to see how important it is to not just know the answers, but to be able to tell a story. It's like painting a picture for the interviewer and helping them actually see me in the role.
You got it. Okay, now let's prepare for a question that really assesses your composure under pressure. How do you stay calm and focused during an emergency situation?
Deep breaths. Everyone, deep breaths. This one is kind of intimidating. I mean, I know fire inspectors need to be able to handle stressful situations, but emergencies are on a whole other level.
Absolutely. They want to see that you can think clearly and make smart decisions even when things get chaotic. Share any relevant experiences you've had, whether it's from previous roles or even volunteer work. Do you have any go-to strategies for staying calm under pressure?
Yeah, I've learned that taking a moment to just assess the situation and focusing on the task at hand really helps me stay grounded. And I try to remind myself that I've been trained for these types of situations and that I have the skills and knowledge to handle them effectively.
Those are great strategies. And remember, you can also mention things like deep breathing exercises or positive self-talk, anything that helps you stay centered and focused when things get intense. Now let's tackle a challenge that's specific to fire inspectors. How do you handle situations where you encounter a language barrier during an inspection?
That's a really good point. I haven't even thought about that. The RoleCatcher Career Guide did mention that fire inspectors often work with really diverse communities. So, yeah, encountering language barriers is definitely a possibility.
Right. They're looking for resourcefulness here and a commitment to effective communication, even when there are obstacles. Do you have any experience using translation tools or services?
Well, I've used translation apps on my phone before, and I know there are those professional interpretation services available. I could also try using visual aids or demonstrations to help get important information across.
Those are all excellent strategies. It's about showing your willingness to find solutions and make sure communication is clear no matter what. And before we move on to more questions, let's weave in some of those career insights from RoleCatcher.
Oh, sounds good. I'm
Okay.
always up for learning more about career paths and advancement opportunities.
Well, RoleCatcher highlights that there are several paths you can take within the fire inspector career. You could start as a trainee and work your way up to a supervisor or even a fire marshal.
Wow, that's encouraging. It shows there's definitely room for growth and development in this field.
Right. And they also emphasize the value of certifications like Certified Fire Inspector or Certified Fire Plans Examiner. Earning these credentials can not only boost your knowledge and expertise, but also increase your earning potential and open up new opportunities down the line.
So it's not just about getting the job, it's about planning for a long-term career in fire safety.
Exactly. Now let's tackle some more of those interview questions. How about this classic? Tell me about a time you had to deal with a conflict at work. What happened and how did you handle it?
Ah, yes. The conflict question, a classic for sure. I know conflict is kind of inevitable in any workplace, but it can be especially tough when you're dealing with safety regulations and potentially non-compliant individuals.
Remember, they're not looking for drama or gossip here. They want to see how you approach conflict resolution, your communication skills, and your ability to maintain professionalism even when things get heated.
So I should pick an example that shows my ability to listen, communicate effectively, and find a solution that addresses everyone's concerns. I could talk about a time when I had a disagreement with a colleague about the interpretation of a fire code and how we worked together to find a resolution that met both the code requirements and the client's needs.
That's a perfect example. It shows your ability to collaborate, problem solve, and maintain a positive working relationship, even in those challenging situations. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. How about this question? Describe a time you went above and beyond the call of duty. What motivated you to do so?
Ah, the go-getter question. Got to showcase my initiative, dedication, willingness to go the extra mile. But I also need to tie it back to my values and motivations, right?
Exactly. It's not just about doing more, it's about showing that you're truly passionate and committed. Did you take on extra responsibilities to ensure a project was successful? Did you volunteer to help a colleague who was struggling? Did you find a creative solution to a problem that was stumping everyone else?
I could talk about a time when I volunteered to develop a fire safety training program for a local community center. I was motivated by a desire to give back to my community and share my knowledge of fire safety to hopefully prevent accidents and save lives.
Excellent. It showcases your initiative, your passion for fire safety, and your commitment to making a difference in your community. Okay, now let's gear up for the question that often causes the most anxiety. What are your strengths and weaknesses as a fire inspector?
Oh boy, this one always feels like a trap. I want to highlight my strengths, but I also don't want to sound arrogant. And I'm not even sure what to say about my weaknesses without making it seem like I'm not qualified for the job.
Don't worry, it's a super common question, and there's a strategy for answering it effectively. When you're talking about your strengths, be specific and give some examples. Choose strengths that are directly relevant to the role, like attention to detail, problem-solving skills, communication skills, or your knowledge of fire safety regulations. And when you're addressing weaknesses, be honest but strategic. Pick a weakness that you're actively working to improve and describe the steps you're taking to address it.
So I could say something like, one of my strengths is my attention to detail. I'm super thorough in my inspections and always double check my work to make sure everything is accurate. However, I sometimes get a little too bogged down in the details and can lose sight of the bigger picture. To address this, I've been practicing prioritizing tasks and focusing on the most critical aspects of each inspection.
That's a great example. It shows self-awareness, a willingness to learn, and a commitment to continuous improvement. Okay, let's tackle another common question. How do you handle stress and pressure?
Back to those deep breaths. I know fire inspectors face stressful situations pretty often, especially during emergencies or when dealing with those difficult individuals. I definitely want to come across as calm, collected, and capable of handling pressure without getting overwhelmed.
Right. You want to emphasize your coping mechanisms and those stress management techniques you use. Do you exercise regularly? Practice mindfulness or meditation? Have you developed any strategies for staying focused and making good decisions even under pressure?
For me, staying organized and prioritizing my tasks really helps manage that stress. I also make sure to take breaks and do activities that help me de-stress, like spending time with family and friends or going for hikes in nature.
Excellent. Those are great strategies. It shows that you're proactive about managing your well-being and that you have healthy ways to cope with stress. Okay, now let's talk about technology. The interviewer might ask, what experience do you have using fire inspection software or other relevant technologies?
Okay, this is where I can showcase those technical skills and my familiarity with the tools of the trade. I've actually used several fire inspection software programs in my previous roles, and I'm pretty comfortable using mobile devices and tablets to conduct inspections and document findings.
Great. Make sure to highlight your experience with specific software programs or technologies that they mention in the job description. And even if you don't have experience with a particular program, emphasize your willingness to learn new tech and your ability to adapt quickly to new systems.
I could say something like, well, I haven't used that specific software. I'm a fast learner and proficient in similar programs. I'm confident I could get up to speed with any new software or technology required for the role.
Perfect response. It shows adaptability and eagerness to embrace those new tools. Now, brace yourself for the question that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. What are your salary expectations?
Ugh, the dreaded salary question. It always feels so awkward talking about money, but I know it's important.
Remember, it's a negotiation, not a confrontation. Go into it with a positive mindset and a clear idea of what you're worth. RoleCatcher's Career Guide actually provides salary ranges for fire inspectors in different locations and with different levels of experience.
So I should have a salary range in mind, but also be flexible and open to negotiation.
Right. Highlight your skills, your experience, your certifications, all the things that make you stand out. And if they offer a salary that's below what you were hoping for, don't be afraid to counter. Just be respectful and make sure you can justify your request.
Okay, that makes sense. Any last-minute advice before I head into this interview?
Don't forget to send a thank you note afterwards. It's a small gesture, but it goes a long way in showing your appreciation and reinforcing your interest in the position.
Oh, definitely. I'll do that. I'll make sure to personalize it and mention something specific that we talked about.
Perfect. Now take a deep breath, review your notes, and go rock that interview. You've got this.
Thank you so much for all the insights and guidance. I'm feeling way more confident and prepared.
It was my pleasure. Remember, confidence is key. You have the knowledge, the skills, and the passion to be a fantastic fire inspector.
I do. I'm excited for this next chapter.
And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way. Good luck.
To everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has been helpful in your own job search journey. Remember, preparation is key, and with the right resources and a positive attitude, you can achieve those career goals. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
Wow, we covered so much ground getting ready for this fire inspector interview. It's crazy how much goes into preparing for these things.
Yeah, we've really only just scratched the surface. There's always more to learn in this field. But I think what's really interesting is that no matter how much you prep, there will always be that element of the unexpected in an interview.
That's true. So I guess that's where confidence comes in and being able to think on your feet. But we're not done repping just yet. Is there anything else I should keep in mind as I'm heading into this interview?
Let's talk about a few key things that can really set you apart from other candidates. One is the power of storytelling. Storytelling in a fire inspector interview. That seems a little out of place.
You might be surprised. Stories are how we humans make information memorable and relatable. So instead of just listing off your skills, you want to weave those skills into compelling narratives.
Okay, so for example, if they ask about my communication skills, I shouldn't just say, I'm a good communicator. I should share a story that actually demonstrates those skills in action.
Exactly. Like that time you had to explain a complex fire code violation to a frustrated building owner. How did you break down that information, address their concerns, and ultimately gain their cooperation? Those are the types of stories that are really going to stick with the interviewer.
I like that. It's about showing, not just telling. What else can I do to impress them?
Active listening is crucial. It's not just about waiting for your turn to speak. It's about truly engaging with the interviewer and showing them that you're really absorbing what they're saying.
So making eye contact, nodding along, asking clarifying questions, those are all part of active listening.
Absolutely. And when you do respond, try to connect your answers back to something they said in their questions or comments. For example, if they mention that the company's super focused on community outreach, you can highlight your own experience in fire safety education.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
It shows them that I'm not only qualified for the job, but also a good fit for their specific needs and priorities. It's like I'm showing them I've done my research and I'm really genuinely interested in this specific opportunity.
Exactly. Okay, now let's touch on something that often causes a lot of anxiety: salary negotiations. It's totally normal to feel a little uncomfortable about this part of the process.
You said it. It always feels kind of weird talking about money, but I know I need to be ready to discuss it.
Absolutely. Just remember, it's a negotiation, not a confrontation, so try to go into it with a positive attitude and a clear understanding of what you're worth. RoleCatcher's Career Guide actually provides salary ranges for fire inspectors in different locations and with different levels of experience.
Okay, so I should have a salary range in mind, but also be flexible and open to discussion and maybe a little bit of compromise.
Exactly. Be prepared to highlight your skills, your experience, those certifications. You've earned all the things that make you unique. And if the offer they give you is a little bit lower than what you were hoping for, don't be afraid to counter. Just make sure you're respectful and provide a solid justification for your request.
All right, that makes sense. Any last-minute advice before I head into this interview?
Don't forget about the thank you note. After the interview, make sure to send a thank you note. It's a simple gesture, but it goes a long way in showing your appreciation and reinforcing your interest in the position.
Oh, I'll definitely do that. I'll personalize it and mention something specific we discussed during the interview.
Perfect. Now take a deep breath, review your notes, and go rock that interview. You got this.
Thank you so much for all the insights and guidance. I feel so much more confident and prepared now.
My pleasure. Just remember, confidence is key. You have the knowledge, you have the skills, and you clearly have the passion to be a successful fire inspector.
That's right. I'm excited to start this new chapter in my career.
Awesome. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way. Good luck.
To everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has been helpful as you navigate your own job search journey. Remember, preparation is key. And with the right resources and a positive mindset, you can achieve your career goals. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing,